Think you have a good handle on your cockatiel's behaviour and their quirks? Well, here are some things you may be misunderstanding. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Parrot Teacher. I am David and today we are talking about some often misunderstood quirks and behavioural traits of cockatiels. Cockatiels are an immensely popular parrot pet. They are my favourite type of parrot, and it's really important you understand what your cockatiel is trying to tell you and maybe try to prevent misunderstandings before they happen, and that's why I thought I'd do this video to help you out in that area. Now, one of the biggest misunderstandings I often see when it comes to cockatiel behaviour is nibbling. Now, cockatiels have a way of kind of telling us off or telling each other off, which to many people appears like biting, but there's a big distinction. When your cockatiel's like nibbling, we call it kind of crazy beak, where they'll kind of just nibble, 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 tap, tap, tap your hand and look a little bit stressed and maybe squeal. Whereas if they're trying to bite you, they will bite and they will hold on and they will potentially draw blood. There's a big difference between the two. The first one, where they're sort of crazy beaking you, that is just a form of communication. They are warning you, they're not comfortable with your hand approaching, you surprise them, they don't want that hand near them. So it's a very clear sort of saying, no thank you. Whereas the latter, the bite, that's a form of communication too, but they are biting you, and that isn't like just trying to warn you, that is like you've gone too far and you've pushed things too far. A lot of people confuse the two, and a lot of the times when cockatiels are kind of doing this warning, biting, people are thinking, oh my goodness, my cockatiel's biting, he's being really aggy with me, he wants to hurt me. It's not, it's the opposite in fact. He or she are trying to tell you they're uncomfortable with a situation before it leads to that escalation where they feel they may have to bite you. You may also see this behaviour as well when you're preening them or petting them. Maybe you just do it for too long, or you do it in the wrong way and they're just like, no, no thank you. You can also teach them to be even softer with this behaviour through target training, which I'll leave a card for now, because it does help to teach them to be softer with their beak and be more gentle with you. Now, the next behaviour I want to talk about is head bowing, or sometimes bonking as well. Cockatiels will often bow their heads if they want to get petted, and you can often see that they want to be petted because the sort of back of their necks will fluff up a little bit. That's a common sort of trait for a lot of parrots when they bow their heads and want to be petted. Sometimes though, they may bow their head and you're like, okay, I'm gonna pet you, and then suddenly they go, ah. Sometimes they're just checking their feet. Sometimes they are bowing their head for another reason, and it's very important to understand the distinction between the two. If they're bowing their head and in context they look like they're asking for pets, they're not being funny in any way, that's probably what they're telling you. If they bow their head suddenly and then it goes back up, they're probably telling you something different. If they start bonking, then that's just basically a territorial behaviour, and they were bowing their head because they were going to have a bonking session. And I mean that in a strictly non-naughty sense as well, by the way. When we talk about bonking here, we're talking about bashing on surfaces to assert their territorial claim to them. I talk about this behaviour loads, it's in so many videos, but people still misunderstand it lots, so hopefully people who watch this one but don't watch other videos will get it. And that is beak grinding. When your cockatiel grinds its beak, it makes this kind of crunchy sound. A lot of people get worried about it, think there's something wrong. It's the opposite normally. When your cockatiel's grinding its beak, it means they're relaxed and they're content. It means they're getting ready for a nap or a sleep. It is one of my favourite sounds. I find it really relaxing. It generally means that your cockatiel's doing really well. Let's talk about the cockatiel's crest as well. There's some interesting information about this, which is dealing in massive generalities. And I understand generalities are helpful sometimes, but obviously we need to look at each cockatiel individually. And the crest is a really great tell for knowing how your cockatiel's feeling. But sometimes people kind of attribute loads of things to one crest position, when in reality it can mean loads of different subtle things, because it's one of the ways they communicate with each other. As generalities, the crest being high up means excited or interested or alert. As a generality, the crest being down also means maybe stressed or anxious. But you can also see basically the whole thing flip on its side, depending on your cockatiel. Sometimes when the crest is down and slicked back, that can mean they're interested and excited. When the crest is really high up, that can mean they're fearful. The best rule is look at the context of their behaviour, look at the rest of their body shape and their feathers, and also look if their crest is in a neutral position as well. Because when it's neutral, that tends to be your sweet spot. When they're kind of relaxed or generally okay and there's no extremes of emotion, you will get to know your cockatiel. Don't make assumptions, don't just go by what you see on the internet, because your cockatiel may have slightly different crest positions. So keeping an eye on that crest and knowing what the positions mean for your individual bird is going to be very important for your relationship with them and understanding their behaviour. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is dietary preferences. A lot of people ask, why is my cockatiel not eating its fruit? Why doesn't it like this sort of vegetable when they're diet converting? And that comes from their kind of natural history and what they'll eat in the wild. Cockatiels, as a lot of people point out when they're trying to argue for all seed diets, is they will eat grains and they will go on crop fields and eat seeds and grains. That's completely true. They 100% do eat them. But they also eat lots of green veggies. They also eat sprouted things. When shoots are starting to come out, that is a preferred food of a cockatiel. It's much more nutrient dense. They love it. They would even eat bugs, but you don't have to feed them bugs, don't worry. So when they're not eating their fruit, it could be basically because they're not really that interested in them. We tend to advise for cockatiels, as a generality, because there are cockatiels who like fruit, like fish loves banana, try your leafy greens, try your sprouts, try your sprouted items, try a mix, a healthy seed mix with lots of different things. Diversify a bit, but focus on the greens because that's where you're probably going to have a bit more success with their dietary conversion. So guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Any things that you'd like to highlight as quirks that people may be misunderstanding, love to hear from you down in the comments. But in the meantime, take care and see you later.